What's going on, fellow Illuminators? Welcome back in. I'm Lorcana Thanos, the Mad Titan of the Illuminary. Disney Lorcana has turned one, and we are celebrating today. All right, so as I said in my opening, Disney Lorcana officially is 1 year old. And so, how that's kind of been defined is Gen Con last year, 2023, was the first time that the masses, quote unquote, were able to really buy product. And so that was like the official release of Lorcana. Yes, you had the D23 sticks over there and the Brave Little Tailor promos they were handing out, but that's a very, very niche collector's item. It's worth thousands of dollars, and so most people weren't able to get it because they couldn't attend D23. So the community mostly says that Gen Con 2023 was the launch of Disney Lorcana, and at the time of recording this video, Gen Con 2024 just recently took place this past weekend, and so we are celebrating 1 year. So I got to give the citizens of Lorcana podcast a massive shout out. I did get this idea from them from their latest episode, and I will, put their link to their episode down below. But what I wanted to do is a little bit different because I feel like a lot of people in this community and most people watching on YouTube obviously don't know who I am. And so what I wanted to do was share my Lorcana story because it's a bit unique. Those of you who have been around since the beginning probably know who I am or you're aware of me, but you don't really know everything, if that makes sense. And so, that being said, let's get started. So, first off, as you guys all know, see the gauntlet behind me and on my hat, I go by the handle, the moniker, username, Lorcana Thanos. But, my name is Jason. I am a TCG vet for over a quarter century, and I have played games such as Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, the Score and Panini Dragon Ball Z games, Bandai's first Dragon Ball game, the Naruto CCG game by Bandai, Dragon Ball Super, which is now Dragon Ball Super Masters, and Dragon Ball Super Fusion World, Yu-Gi-Oh! I know the basics of Magic the Gathering. I don't play it any type of format whatsoever, but I have a lot of friends that play it. So, they taught me the basics of it, but I don't really mess with Magic like that. And then, of course, now obviously I play Disney Lorcana. Lorcana is my main game, followed by Dragon Ball Super Masters and Fusion World, and then good old Yu-Gi-Oh. Yu-Gi-Oh is like that ex that you just keep checking up on to see what she's up to. Um, I am a massive Kaiba fan. I am a massive Blue Eyes fan. I'm so excited for that structure deck that's coming out, and the OCG and soon to the TCG. But just to show off here, have my 25th Blue Eyes. Yes, I spent the money on the briefcase, if you know what this is. The briefcase is in my other room where I keep my collection, like collectible type stuff, in there. But so that's a little bit of my background. I have regional tops and wins in most of those games that I talked about. And then I've topped Nats for a few of those games as well. Have not gotten my dream of a national championship yet, but I came close a few times. And that is, something that I am hoping to pursue for Lorcana, even a world championship, if all things go my way. But that being said, so kind of like what I wanted to do today was kind of tell you guys, like I said, my Lorcana story. And so, yeah, it's a bit interesting. I've been around longer than most people might know or think, and so how that is that I was a part of a little show called LorcanaCast. If you've been around since Jump and since before Set One, you are very well aware of the LorcanaCast. Ravensburger was aware of the LorcanaCast. When I met Ryan at the DLC Atlanta, I talked to him about us. Back then, and yeah, he recognized the name immediately once I said it. So obviously, I know Ravensburger was aware of us, and I'm using past tense for a reason. But kind of how LorcanaCast came to be is because I don't think Sugi's talked about much, quite honestly. So how LorcanaCast came to be is it was Sugi's idea, and what happened was Sugi wanted to form a team after Lorcana was announced to just talk about the game, right? And everything that was going on. So he got um, two guys that he knew via Star Wars Destiny. Star Wars Destiny was a game that Sugi loved, and he met them after he left Disney. And we'll talk about that in a minute. And yeah, that's just kind of how they met, and they love Star Wars Destiny. And they used to do creation stuff together, from my understanding. For Destiny, Destiny went away, and they weren't playing anything. I know Chris. I think Chris got into Flesh and Blood. I don't know about Sugi or Scuff. It was my understanding they weren't really doing anything, like collectively at least. And then Lorcana came about, and he grabbed them immediately. And then he was looking for someone else, and he put a post up on Facebook, and he was like, "Hey, like I'm putting a team together. Does anybody want to do it?" And I happened to be um, at work when I saw it, and I immediately jumped in because once the game had been announced, I had taken a break from YouTube for quite a while. I used to be a YouTuber, um, and way back, like 2012, 2013 formats. I did some stuff back then, and I had wanted to get back into the content creation game, and so I messaged Sugi. I was like, "Hey man, that's awesome. You're gonna do it," because I was thinking about doing what I'm doing now on my own, and I was like, "Well, I know like John knows what he's doing, so we'll talk." We talked. He was like, "Hey, like that's great. You want to do it? Let's go, right?" So Avengers Assemble, right? We squatted up. A little bit on how Sugi and I know each other. Because we've talked about it on LorcanaCast, like here and there, but we haven't really told like the whole story, right? So I met Sugi in 2017 on property at the Walt Disney World Resort. We both worked at Epcot. I don't know if it doesn't matter like what we did. I don't mind talking about it, but I don't know if he wants to, but we worked out in the park, at Epcot, and yeah, we knew each other for a little bit over a year. And so we met during training, and yeah, it just happened to be circumstance. We got to talking about Star Wars, I do believe, and then that just kind of spun, and we talked about TCG stuff, all kinds of fun nerdy stuff, and so yeah, it's just one of those things, and we became friends from there, and then he left before I did. He went to Oklahoma, and then I left the company because I had a bit of, it's a proper word I want to use here, not hostile, but I'll say unpleasant situation happen um, with my management team at the time. I didn't feel it was a good work environment, and so I left to pursue a sales job for a software company. Did pretty well at that. Then the pandemic happened, yada yada, and here I am now. But all that being said, Sugi and I remained friends since, and then so that's just a little bit of the backstory on how Sugi and I met. And so you had the four of us. And if you recall Lorcana Cast and what we were, Sugi was the moderator, he was the point man, he self-appointed. We'll get to that. But he was the guy that did the editing, put everything out. Um, you know, Bates, Chris, was all about community. He was the community dude. And then I was trying to bring in the competitive aspect because that's primarily my background. And then Skeff was there. That's the nicest way I can put that. He was there. And yeah, that was us. And all things considered, if you're aware of the show and you watched us, we had a pretty fun time. But things weren't always great behind the scenes. And there were some times where we had some pretty heated conversations, and unfortunately, we had a situation where Suki's never talked about it, and I talked about it before a little bit, but Uh, Basically, we had a situation where we were going to do an interview with a very prominent member in the Lorcana community, and there were outside circumstances that took place. Um, some things were said between not the individual involved. They know who they are. They're not at fault for anything that happened. This was just stuff that had kind of been brewing behind the scenes for a while, and everything reached a boiling point. And basically, Sugi and I just had a lot of creative differences. I wanted to take the channel in a certain direction. I thought there were things that we could have been doing differently to improve, and basically, Sugi didn't agree with that, and that's fine. That's his prerogative. That's neither here nor there now. But just so you guys kind of know why the team split, because I know they're not together anymore. Um, yeah, it came down to creative differences, and they, despite what people might say behind the scenes, they removed me without. They told me an hour before we were supposed to record an interview with somebody, and yeah, that got, and then yeah, that was not fun. So yeah, I wasn't very pleased with that. I tried to get them to explain, and that's the thing, to kind of say my 2 cents about that. I tried several times to ask all of them, like, let's sit down, let's have a conversation. Like, one disagreement should not lead to what happened, but it was 3-on-1 at that point. And yeah, so then I moved on from that time point, and I wanted to still talk about the game because set one had not come out yet, and I started this little channel. So quantum gaming and collectibles is what I did on my own, and I had been running that kind of off and on sporadically from the point of, at some point during the pandemic, I had moved from Florida to Houston, and I was covering. I needed something to do, and so I wanted to get back into the creation game, and I was covering Dragon Ball Super. At the time, it wasn't called Masters. Fusion World was not a thing, so it was, but it's Masters. And so yeah, I was just having a lot of fun, just covering the game and making silly little vids talking about the game. And yeah, it was just having a fun time doing that. And so, since the name was Gaming and Collectibles, I thought I can just throw Lorcana in there. And I was covering Dragon Ball Super, Lorcana, and a little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh here and there. Not a whole lot, honestly. It was mostly Lorcana and Dragon Ball Super. And so I had done that for a little while, but again, some stuff went down, and basically, this was all me. So, um, I needed something to do, and at that point in time, I had a lot of personal things going on with family related stuff, which still working on that, quite honestly. And unfortunately, I led to a situation where I had to cut certain people out of my life. My life is infinitely better now. I think that's something that a lot of people need to learn is friends, family, whomever. If you have overly toxic people in your life that don't benefit you, it's worth reevaluating the situation and removing those people. If you're in a position to do so, because your situation, your mental health, your overall health will improve immensely. So I highly recommend you do it. I did that. I started a new job, and I also got a new puppy at that point in time, and I was uploading every day, 20, every day. So I was constantly YouTube, nonstop, on top of trying to work while take care of a new pup and life and marriage, all that fun stuff. And it just got to be too much. And um, I had a conversation with some other prime people in the community who gave me some feedback because at that point in time, it's partially my fault, and I'll take accountability for that. As I said some things back then. So I used to do something called the Shuffle Up podcast, where I just kind of, it was a little catch all about stuff going on in the TCG world, whether it's primarily Lorcana, but of course Yu Gi Oh, Dragon Ball, Pokemon. I think One Piece was starting up at that point in time. Just kind of whatever I want, fun little things, whatever I want to talk about that I didn't feel like fit like a specific video. It was a way just to talk about everything. And so I stuff about I know the big point of contention with this community at that point in time was product allocation in the OP system. And I used to make a lot of very critical comments, and I I've explained this before, but I think a lot of that got lost in the wind at this current point in time. Is I made a lot of comments back then about ways to improve, and there's going to be some revisionist history by some individuals involved, but I don't care. But those same criticisms I had, a lot of people in this community who most people follow ended up echoing things that I said after I went away, because I ended up being right. And as you guys have seen from the community, the first chapter allocation was a bit of a mess. A little bit of Floodborne was a bit of a mess. And, eventually, to Ravensburger's credit, they did reprint set one, and, reprints will happen as needed, which I think is a great decision. The game needs to be accessible. Going from Into the Inklands to Ursula's Return, and now as we approach Shimmering Skies on Friday, getting product is not a problem. Accessories is a problem. That is, well, I won't say problem. I'll say area for improvement. And I think but otherwise, the game is very, very accessible. It's, pretty much able to walk into a store and get product for the most part in most areas. So thank you, Ravensburger. But yeah, so I, did my own thing for a bit, and I was critical because I knew what this game could be. In this past year, I've seen this game start to become what I knew it could be from jump, and I'm super proud of Ravensburger and the team. They take licks, they understand feedback, and they don't overreact to it, and that's what I'll give them credit for. We've got organized play now, and I was lucky enough to get into DLC Atlanta. I got to play in the very first Lorcana Challenge. Super happy. As I said earlier, I met Ryan, fantastic, and I would love to meet Steve, meet Rochelle, meet other people, Shane, meet other people involved with the Lorcana team. I'm going to DLC Vegas, so hopefully I'll see you guys there. You will recognize me by the hat and this thing right here. I will have that with me, and I'm not kidding. I will have it with me. I'll be walking around with it on. Are there areas that they could improve on with the DLC? Absolutely. They need a stream judge. They need to increase cap, all that fun stuff. But I think from where this game started to where it is now, massive improvement. It's exactly what I thought it was going to be. And sky's the limit for this game. You look at, and that's going to be a video in a future conversation, look at what's happening with Yu-Gi-Oh! Look at what's happening with some other games. We're going to start getting their player base because of pricing. That's a whole different conversation to have at a later date. But yeah, I'm super happy with Lorcana and where it is going. And so for the final chapter, the current chapter we are on. So yeah, talking about, so wrapping up QGC. So I got some feedback from some people about kind of some of the comments that I've been making, and I let a lot of the personal stuff and just life in general just weigh on my shoulders and just drag me down and just pull me down, and that impacted some of the things that I said. I also said a lot of stuff because I got frustrated because, let's call a spade a spade. Let's call it what it is. A lot of newer people in this Lorcana space, they've never played a TCG before, And at that point in time, it was a lot of first timers, like not just people without experience speaking like they had experience, and that annoyed me a little bit, if I'm being honest. And so I was trying to speak from a point of experience, and but I was getting cut at the knees for it, and it was just kind of all this wild storm of everything. And I just said enough, deuces, I'm out. And honestly, taking the time off was the best thing for me. There's no way I could have done everything I was doing before and then come back to do what I'm doing now. Okay, so how this came to be. So, um, why the name? Well, love Lorcana and I love Thanos, and I thought it's marketable, so let's put it together. But basically, citizens of Lorcana, Jared and James, they did an interview with Baker, aka Lorcana Villain, and I don't know what it was about that interview, but I have been contemplating coming back into the content creation space for Lorcana for a while. And it was just something about that interview that made a light bulb go off. And I was like, now's the time to do it, right? Like, let's just screw it. Let's go in. Let's do it. At that point, Inklands was the current set. And so, the game had 3 sets under it. Ursula's Return was gearing up. And so it was just like, you know, it's time. And I had been enjoying playing the game, and yeah, so I just wanted to dive in and come back into the creation space. Having a lot of fun doing it, and so I wanted to kind of explain why the channel is how it is. So I said earlier that I stress that I am a competitive player, but if you notice, I don't make competitive content. Why is that? Well, the simple reason is I want to be appealing to everybody because the community isn't just the competitive players, the collectors, or the more social players, right? So it's a tripod. We all stand together, right? And I feel like if I focus so much on competitive, with Shimmer Skies coming up Friday, I've spent the past week and a half testing for Vegas already. But I don't want to show proxy decks. One, I'm still fine tuning some lists. But two, I don't want to completely reveal what I'm playing for Vegas. I have it down to 2 or 3 decks. If you're a competitive player, you probably know the color combos I'm looking at. But yeah, I just wanted to make something that was more appealing to the masses. And quite honestly, I wanted to make videos I enjoy making. And what I enjoy making is doing the top tens, these discussion type videos, these all these thematic deck profiles that I'm making because I am a massive Disney fan. Disney's in the vein. I've grown up on this. I've worked for the Walt Disney Company for over 8 years. I'm a Disney Store Trivia champion 4 consecutive years in a row. I love this. Go to the parks all the time, Florida and California. And I've been to Paris. Tokyo's up next. I want to travel international to all of them. It's what I love. Obviously, they acquired, Lucasfilm, Marvel, now Fox, just all this stuff. So there's obviously I love Pixar. There's just more to play with in the sandbox. But I make the channel how I do because, as I said, it's what I enjoy. Um, I want to start doing interviews, so I've never really said that out loud. And then I want to start making more competitive content. And the reason why I don't is because I am very, very specific and want to fine tune competitive lists as much as I possibly can. And that's why I don't make the competitive content yet. Plus, I feel like there's so many channels out there that do competitive stuff that I wanted to take a more social approach to this, and just kind of have fun with it. You notice one of my favorite videos that I've made is, well, I have 2. My pet deck is brooms, so I made my broom video here on my birthday, so you can click the card up there to check that out. And then, of course, I love Robin Hood, and so I made a Champion of Sherwood deck profile for Robin Hood. I'm doing an updated one because he got so much love in Shimmering Skies, and I can't wait. And that card's up there somewhere. If you want to check out the current build of that, but it's fun. Like it's more. I actually think it's more of a deck building challenge to build the thematic ones than how I build competitive decks. Because for the social type thematic type stuff that you take the locals or kitchen table type. I look up all the cards from that particular film and I try to implement as much of it as I possibly can. Um, so yeah, that's kind of like what I want to do. But in terms of the future of what I want to do on the channel, it's more competitive content and maybe talk about news a little bit more than I do, and also start doing interviews. And I have some people in mind, and especially now with established since day one people like Jaunty that are stepping away. I think now's the time for other content creators to step in and fill that void. And, hopefully, I wish Jaunty well. Jaunty is someone that helped me with the situation in my quantum gaming days that came up. He gave me some great advice. So, Jaunty, if you remember that, thank you. But yeah, it's just been fun. I'm just under 50 subs, and it's just taking it a day at a time, one vid at a time, and I'm having so much fun doing it. And yeah, happy birthday, Disney Lorcana. Here's to another fantastic year, and I'll see you guys in Vegas. All right, so that's gonna do it for today's video. Be sure to let me know down below what you thought. As always, you can help me out by giving me one of these. It helps the YouTube algorithm do what it does best. And as always, if you like the Lorcana content here on the channel and you want to see more, be sure to smash that subscribe button and click that bell so you get notified when I upload new videos every Tuesday and Friday at 7:15 p.m. EST. As always, you can follow me on the artist formerly known as Twitter on X at Lorcana Thanos. And remember, the hardest choices require the strongest wills. Bye.